Most women using peptides have no idea what they are actually injecting. Somewhere right now, a woman is holding a tiny vial she ordered online, squinting at instructions written by someone with 200,000 followers and no medical license, and feeling very confident about what she is about to do. Her doctor has no idea this is happening. Her body is aware. Her body has concerns it does not yet know how to express. Peptides are short chains of amino acids, basically tiny pieces of protein that your body already makes naturally. They act like messengers, telling your cells to do specific jobs like speeding up healing, releasing growth hormone, or building collagen. On paper, that sounds incredible, which is exactly why millions of women are now buying them and talking about them like they discovered something the medical world has been hiding. The problem is that your body already runs an incredibly precise chemical messaging system. Every signal your cells send and receive is timed, dosed, and coordinated with dozens of other biological processes happening at the same time. When you introduce a synthetic peptide from outside that system, you are not just adding one message to the conversation, you are shouting over a very complicated orchestra that took millions of years to develop. BPC-157 targets tissue repair. CJC-1295 pushes your pituitary gland to release more growth hormone. Melanotan tricks your body's receptors into producing more skin pigment, basically giving you a tan from the inside. Most women using these have no idea which system they are affecting, at what dose, or what happens when those systems get pushed in a direction they were never supposed to go. Your hormones were already complicated. Peptides can make them worse. She was injecting peptides she found online, storing the vials in her refrigerator between the yogurt and the leftovers, and feeling absolutely fantastic, right up until her hormones staged a full intervention and her doctor started asking questions she had not prepared answers for. Women's hormonal systems are already running one of the most delicate balancing acts in human biology. Estrogen, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, cortisol, insulin, and thyroid hormones are all talking to each other in a continuous feedback loop that shifts every single day of the month. That system did not evolve to have outside chemical messengers dropped into it without consequences. Many of the peptides popular in women's wellness communities directly stimulate the pituitary gland or the hypothalamus, the two command centers that control nearly every hormone your body produces. Compounds like ipamorelin and CJC-1295 push the pituitary to flood your system with growth hormone, which raises IGF-1 levels, which ripples into insulin sensitivity, cortisol regulation, and estrogen metabolism in ways that researchers are still working to fully understand. For women in perimenopause or with existing conditions like PCOS or thyroid dysfunction, introducing a compound that directly stimulates the pituitary is not a wellness upgrade. It is adding a new variable into an already unstable equation, and the downstream effects can take months to surface and even longer to untangle once they do. The peptide sold as a weight loss miracle has a warning label nobody is reading. A peptide gets popular the same way everything gets popular. One person with good lighting and 200,000 followers says it changed their life, and suddenly there is a waiting list, a community, and a group chat. The clinical research did not make the group chat. GLP-1 receptor agonists, like semaglutide, started as prescription medications for type 2 diabetes before the weight loss results turned them into the most talked about compounds in women's health. Then came research-grade versions, tirzepatide, retatrutide, and a growing list of similar compounds being sold through wellness clinics to women who want the results without going through a prescribing physician. These compounds work by mimicking a hormone your gut naturally releases after eating, signaling your brain that you are full and slowing down digestion. But GLP-1 receptors also exist in your heart, your pancreas, your kidneys, and your brain, which means something powerful enough to suppress appetite is also interacting with organ systems that have nothing to do with dropping dress sizes. Women using these compounds without supervision are frequently getting the dosing completely wrong or stacking them with other peptides in combinations that have never been studied together. Documented side effects include severe nausea, accelerated muscle loss, gallbladder disease, and thyroid changes. And those are outcomes from patients who are actually being monitored by a physician the entire time. Some peptides are telling your cells to grow, including the ones you don't want growing. The bodybuilding world has used this peptide for decades, but do not worry. The wellness industry found it, put it in a frosted bottle, added the word regenerative, and now it is completely different and very safe, and you should definitely not ask too many questions. Peptides like ipamorelin, GHRP6, and CJC1295 work by pushing your body to produce more IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1. IGF-1 is a powerful cellular growth signal that speeds up tissue repair, builds muscle, and makes skin look younger by telling cells to divide and multiply at a faster rate than they normally would. The concern that oncologists and endocrinologists raise consistently is that elevated IGF-1 does not selectively target the cells you want growing. Studies have found associations between chronically high IGF-1 levels and increased risks of breast, ovarian, and colorectal cancers in women, because many of those cancer cells carry IGF-1 receptors that respond to elevated levels exactly the same way healthy tissue does. Most women using these peptides are making that decision based on before and after photos from influencers who have been on them for 3 months. The research raising red flags comes from scientists who have been tracking IGF-1 and cancer risk across large populations for 20 years, and those two timelines are not even close to telling the same story. Your skin and hair might look better while your organs are under stress. Nothing builds unshakable confidence in a vial from the internet like watching your skin clear up and your nails grow. Whatever is quietly falling apart underneath that glowing complexion can absolutely wait. She has a before photo to post. Collagen-stimulating peptides like GHK-Cu and matrixyl have genuine research behind their ability to improve skin texture and wound healing. Growth hormone peptides make hair follicles more active and give skin a plumper appearance. Those results show up fast enough to feel like proof of success, but cosmetic improvements and internal safety are two completely separate conversations that rarely happen at the same time. While skin and hair are responding visibly to elevated IGF-1 signals, the liver is processing a significantly higher chemical load than it was designed to handle from synthetic compounds. The kidneys are working harder to filter byproducts moving through the bloodstream. Inflammatory markers in women using stacked peptide protocols have been shown to rise even as their outward appearance keeps improving, because the body runs two very different reports at once. Women who stopped peptide protocols after months of great cosmetic results have discovered through lab panels that their liver enzymes, kidney function markers, and inflammatory indicators had been trending in the wrong direction the entire time without a single visible warning sign showing up anywhere on the outside. Nobody is regulating what is actually inside that vial. A woman orders a peptide from a website with a clean logo and immediately feels like she has done her research. The label looks official. The vial looks legitimate. What is inside is technically anyone's guess, but the font was very reassuring. Peptides sold for research purposes only exist in a legal gray zone that allows manufacturers to produce and sell them without the safety testing, quality control, or regulatory oversight that pharmaceutical companies are required to meet before anything reaches a patient. That phrase, research purposes only, is not a safety disclaimer. It is the legal language that removes every protection a consumer would otherwise have. Independent lab testing of peptides purchased from popular online sources has found significant dosing inconsistencies, with some vials containing far more of the active compound than labeled, and others containing almost none. Bacterial endotoxins, byproducts of microbial contamination, have been detected in samples that looked completely normal and came from vendors with thousands of positive reviews. Injection site infections, systemic immune reactions, and hospitalizations have all been documented in cases traced back to contaminated research peptides that women purchased based on unregulated market recommendations where nobody asked where the product was manufactured or whether any third party had ever verified what was actually inside the vial. The women who stopped and what happened to their bodies. Stopping turned out to be the part nobody mentioned, possibly because it does not make a good thumbnail, cannot be sold as a follow-up product, and is very hard to spin into content that ends with someone smiling in good lighting. When you introduce synthetic peptides that stimulate growth hormone, suppress appetite, or push your pituitary gland to produce more of certain hormones, your body gradually adjusts its own internal production downward to compensate. This is called negative feedback, and it is one of the most fundamental mechanisms in human endocrinology. Your body detects that a signal is already arriving from an outside source and dials back how much of that signal it produces on its own. Women who stopped growth hormone peptides after extended use have reported months of crushing fatigue, depression, disrupted cycles, and a complete inability to lose fat through the same diet and exercise habits that worked before they started. Their bodies had downregulated natural growth hormone production during the protocol and needed significant time to recalibrate back to a baseline that no longer matched where they started. GLP-1 peptide users reported intense hunger rebounds, rapid weight regain, and metabolic shifts that made their pre-peptide baseline feel permanently altered. Some of those changes resolved over time with medical support. Others are still working through them years after stopping. The wellness industry that handed them the vials was not there for any of that recovery, and the influencers who recommended the protocol had already moved on to the next trending compound by the time the rebound started. Women deserve complete information before making decisions about what goes into their bodies, and right now, the industry is only sharing the half that drives sales. Subscribe so you never walk into a health trend without knowing exactly what you are dealing with first.